Let's dig right in, Paul. Let's dig into the beginning. And it's interesting. You said you start. You said I think you said you start off as a teacher, and almost sounded like. Did I hear something wrong there? Where you said like they were? Did you have somebody in your family that was a teacher, or was it a dream that you always wanted to be a teacher?
Both of my parents were teachers. My dad's was a physical education teacher for like 39 years, and my mom was a teacher as well.
Interesting. So your dad would have hated me. I was the fat kid in school, and I was the fat kid who couldn't climb up the rope, who was always screamed at from from not being able to do stuff, in school. So I gotta ask you about your dad. Was your dad one of the nice phys ed teachers that just kind of helped the kids along, or was he a typical teacher that just thought all us fat kids were lazy?
He's the best, the nicest PE teacher you'd ever have. I mean, he never even dressed like a coach. He just dressed like a typical guy, and he ran little tournaments and gave you the sort of the basics of all the sports. Cool thing about him, just interesting fun fact, is he was an Olympian volleyball player before there was Olympics for men. So he got as high as you could go in volleyball for men back in his day.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, the interesting thing you brought up, I mean, since we talked about the type of PE teachers, did was it the fact that your parents were teachers, or was it the type of teachers and what they did as a teacher that really attracted you to become a teacher?
That's a great question. I seem to identify with the teachers that I had. Probably some people would have said I was teacher's pet, and they probably hated me for that. But I just sort of could feel, like, empathize with them, what they were going through when the class was being disobedient, and I sort of felt for them, like I was pulling for them. I wasn't pulling for, like, the students who were goofing around. I was like, and then my parents would come with the stories from school. A lot of those were negative because they were venting, and I never got turned off by that. I was just like, I knew all the dirt about being a teacher, and I still really wanted to be one because I had something inside of me that wanted to communicate truth to others.
Oh, that's epic. And I think that's our first big golden nugget takeaway from today is the fact that you were self-aware as a kid and you were going through and you were hearing about the negativity, and negativity didn't push you off. So for our valued viewers out there, if you look back on your life and you realize that negativity in something didn't make you run away, maybe it didn't make you run towards, but didn't make you run away, that's one key tip that you might might have found something that you were meant to do at least during a part of your life. So that's, I congratulate you on you being that self-aware, especially as a kid, because most kids are not that self-aware, especially nowadays, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew when I was a junior in high school that I was called to be a teacher in some way, shape, or form. And that was so comforting to go into college. Most kids nowadays, they don't know what they're going to major in, but I knew exactly what I was doing at that point in my life.
And I love how you say at that point in your life, because many of us go through where we think we know what we're going to do for the rest of our life. And we're absolutely sure this is what we're going to do for the rest of our life, until you get 30 or 40 years down the road and you realize that you were only meant to do something for a piece of your life. And I commend you on that realization and the fact that I'm going to guess that realization helps you now to realize that, okay, you've moved on and you're no longer a teacher, but you're doing it in you're spreading the truth in a different way. I mean, does it
Yeah.
help you does that help you that you realize, okay, this was, at that time in my life, this is what I was meant to do, and now this time in my life, this is what I'm meant to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a teacher, you've got the 24 kids in your class, and you impact them at a very deep level, and that's very fulfilling. And then when I became like a principal and went beyond, now I'm impacting 450 kids at a surfacey level. And I just realized it was different seasons, so now as a coach and a speaker, I'm impacting thousands. Again, at sort of that surfacey level, but I have more impact. It's broader now, and I'm still teaching.
Right, exactly. Now, the interesting thing is you moved from being a principal and then you moved into the religious sector. How did that transition all come about?
Yeah, well, I was, like I said, became a principal, and then I became an administrator of a school. And while I was in, it was sort of it was like a church school. So there was like a school and a church put together. And I was actually wounded by the leader of that church at that point, and I needed to get out. And it was the first time I was ever in bad graces with a boss, and I didn't believe it was my bad, because I would have just totally fessed up with that. But he had a health problem that was causing issues. Anyway, so I needed to get out, or I probably would have been let go, and I couldn't believe I was in that position. So I moved back to now where I am here in Eastern Washington, and because there was a job that came looking for me, and it was being a family pastor. So it was like, they said, you've got this education background. We need people to work with the parents of our students here at the church, because the children and youth people are working with the kids, but nobody's working with the families to keep them together. And there's sort of an assault on the family these days. So would you come? And I said, for full time? And they said, yeah. And I went, I'm all over that. And so all that stress of being a principal, which is conflict about 90% of your day to be a principal. I mean, it's just a lot of conflict. It all just sort of rolled off when I moved back here to this area, and then I was able to really focus on producing content for the first time in my life for parents. Audios, videos, seminars, e-newsletters, all that stuff was just coming into being, and I just wanted to jump on the cutting edge of that.
Wow, that's epic. So it's interesting to me that you were in an area and you realized that things were about to get bad. And that's what most people don't have the luxury, I'll say, of doing, or they don't, maybe not luxury is not the right word. It's more of they don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the, I know I didn't. Let's put it this way. I didn't have the wherewithal to realize how bad things were about to get before they got bad. You know, I often talk about, you know, whether you believe in God or the universe, regardless of, you know, which God you believe in, I believe a higher power is there to help us. And I believe that at some points it will nudge you with a feather, and at some points he will, if you don't listen to the feather, will hit you over the head with a 2x4. And while God's a loving God, and I think we all, you know, agree that whatever our higher power is loves us, fact of the matter is that, you know, he wants you to go in the right direction. So that 2x4 sometimes comes out. So I give you a lot of credit for realizing it before you had the 2x4 moment that you would get that, and then got out. And that really, I think, leads us to the turning point here.
To watch the rest of this epic episode now, click on the link below the video. Do it now, you'll be glad you did. Are you still here? What are you waiting for? Watch the rest of this epic episode now by clicking on the link below the video.